for this very important discussion on retrofitting real estate, business models and solutions for efficient, low-carbon buildings. This is the discussion where it's actually a huge amount of the emissions that we need to reduce are in existing buildings, and it's quite a complicated conversation, but there are some very good solutions to be had. So we'll be delighted to listen to a few keynote speakers, and then we'll have a panel discussion, and then we'll have a closing remarks, and then we'll be done on time by 12:30. So that's my promise to you. And we'll kind of get going with the discussion. My name is Dominic Warre. I'm an Executive Vice President at the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and we're proud partners with the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, and proud partners with our valued members JLL, Train, and our partners from the German Energy Agency and the European Commission Energy Efficiency Hubs Building Task Group. So thank you all for being here. And we look forward very much to the discussion. With no further ado, we're very, very delighted that Diana Aconcia is with us, who's the European Commission Director for Multilateral Affairs at the Department of Climate Action. And you'll kind of help set the scene for us, Diana. So over to you.
Hello, good morning everybody, and thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to have been invited to speak to you today at COP30 on such an important topic, which is how to unlock investment in energy retrofit of buildings. And before I start, I would like to thank the Global ABC and the Energy Efficiency Hub for organizing this session and bringing key partners for the European Commission on this matter. The building sector accounts for about 30% of global final energy use and 26% of CO2 emissions. Therefore, accelerating building renovations is indispensable to meet our climate goals. This requires bridging the annual investment gap of roughly 400 to 500 billion US dollars worldwide, according to the estimations of the International Energy Agency. There was at COP28 a global pledge on doubling energy efficiency and tripling renewable energy, and on renewable energy deployment, we are relatively close to the target, not right there, but getting there. For the energy efficiency improvements, according to the latest analysis by the IEA, we are not on track to meet these goals. And I have to say that in the European Union, we are also not on track. And while we are making great progress in decarbonizing the power generation sector, on the buildings and on the transport for that matter, we are not doing so well. And this is why we have adopted the ETS2 that is going to look at the heating of buildings, because we need a boost on that. So I think we are all on the same boat. It is a challenge, but at the same time, it's also a tremendous opportunity to make, if we make energy efficiency and decarbonization a source of innovation, of growth and job creation. But we are not there yet, but we think it's possible. And how do we make this transformation happen? We need to put together investors and government as industries. We need to be able to find favorable regulatory frameworks and to get support to the risk investment. So we need, as public sector, reliable partners when implementing the energy efficiency because we shouldn't see renovation as a cost. Renovation is an investment that pays back over time, but the challenge lies with financing the upfront investment. I think this is for the clean transition in general. We have the cost up front that will save a lot of, for example, fossil fuel imports in the future. But we need to find the financing now. And for renovation, this is, I think, particularly challenging also because of the nature of the sector, because there are citizens and families that sometimes have to advance cash. I was just talking about my own personal renovation that are going through, and I'm seeing how much it costs, particularly in Europe where we have a lot of old buildings, so it's a challenge I fully sympathize. And the public funds are scarce. The subsidies in some cases, for example in Belgium, are being phased out. So they need to be wisely targeted towards the most advanced owners. So I'm about my own personal renovation that are going through, there are a lot of people that really cannot afford it. And solutions exist to unlock private finance, such as energy performance contracts, energy service companies known as ESCOs, consisting of a third-party pre-financing and ensuring that the right level of performance is the most advanced owners. So develop my own personal renovation that are going through the approach, and they already and solutions exist at international, regional, national level, such as energy. In the EU, we created the European Energy Efficiency Financing Coalition, which is a high-level initiative led by the European Commission, ensuring that the right level of performance is so high-level initiative led by the European Commission designed to make energy efficiency a bankable reality. Its purpose is clear: to mobilize and blend private investment, to optimize the use of public funding, to de-risk investment, and to shape the regulatory and market conditions for large-scale deployment of energy efficiency solutions. Another tool to trigger private financing towards green investments, such as energy renovation, is the EU Green Taxonomy, which is a framework defining which economy activities can be considered sustainable. In the building sector, for example, a renovation is considered sustainable if it reduces energy consumption by at least 30%. I need to check if my house is going to fit with this 30%. It is possible. So the EU Green Taxonomy promotes transparency, builds investor confidence, and helps companies access green financing more easily. The Commission is committed to engaging with international organizations, regions, and partners through the exchange of expertise and best practices under the Intergovernmental Council for Buildings and Climate, or other initiatives such as the Energy Efficiency Hub. So thank you again for inviting me, and I wish you a very fruitful panel discussion and very good solution for all the people that are committed to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diana Conchia, for that. And I love how you kind of blended with the European Commission big framework and your own journey of retrofitting your own house. So that was really nice. And it isn't easy. You mentioned about the finance and the mismatch between now and later, and the need for collaboration. So that's great. Now it's a real pleasure to introduce Alida Salah, who's going to be providing us market trends on this space more generally. Alida is the head of sustainability MEA at JLL. So Alida, over to you.
Thank you very much. Dear friends, I feel like I've seen so many of you every day that we can say that now. Today, it's my pleasure to talk to you about retrofitting. I think one of the biggest opportunities that we have, probably one of the biggest challenges that we have as well. JLL is a real estate consulting firm based globally. Can you hear me? I will try again. We're one of the first real estate companies that with a validated net target, committed 95% reduction in absolute emissions from our 2018 baseline. And it's really exciting to say that we're ahead of our targets. So in our 2024 report, really great to see that. Thank you. So, great. So today we're going to give you some updates on what does the market look like when it's from a retrofitting perspective. You know, we've seen that we've reached a tipping point when it comes to commercial real estate, and retrofitting is just not an option. But there are 4 necessities and critical factors that we need to consider. And this is part of our research and our report that JLL has. So please, if you feel that you find this interesting, please download our report. So one is that sustainable commitments are happening at scale. Almost 65% of office occupiers
tons
now
of
have
CO2.
firm commitments to sustainability and to reduce their emissions, which is a driving force for making sure that retrofitting happens, especially when we're looking at North America and Europe. Our stock is aging. So we need to make sure that this is happening, and we need to ensure that we're building low carbon stock. And the next is that traditional flight to equality is now evolving to encompass building energy and emissions performance. So, and an optimization of resources. So what we see here is that people really need to start seeing performance in their assets. Third is that the building inventory, like I said, is aging. And we need to see, so 80%, so this is a staggering fact, 80% of our European office stock and 87% of our US office stock was built pre-2010. That's huge. The opportunities are huge, but the challenge is huge as well. And then the last is that we're also facing growing shortages of low carbon space. In the office sector especially, our research shows that 21 global markets shows that 70% of future demand for low carbon spaces will not be met by 2030. So we have to think about how are we going to meet that big challenge that we have. And this convergence means that retrofitting is emerging as a crucial strategy, creating both value shift for building owners and requiring a reset in location strategies for occupiers and a need for greater collaboration between the two to retrofit the stock that we all will benefit from. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned previously, retrofitting rates really need to triple, and this is what JLL has said previously. But what we're starting to find out that that's not enough. We need to increase retrofitting by 5 times. So how are we going to do that? So the gap. So we did a research based on 46,600 buildings across 14 markets, which shows that the challenge is greater than ever. The gap between existing stocks and what the occupiers and investors view as desirable is widening extremely, as you can see on this graph. Retrofitting rates need to increase 5-fold from 2.4 today to 13.2% of existing buildings annually to meet the decarbonization targets. These are staggering facts, and I think we need to bring that to light and really think about what this means. So JLL has partnered with the Economist Impact on a research called Radical Retrofit, an online survey of 1,000 senior executives, directors, business unit heads from the built environment sector, and conducted across 12 major cities in the America, EMEA, APAC regions. And one of the main findings is that retrofitting is gaining momentum, but it remains far from scale. And we're starting to see that even in markets that weren't studied, that this is happening. Even, for example, I live in the Middle East. We're starting to see that same impact happening, that what we consider old in the Middle East may be different than what you might consider old in Europe and North America. Yet, it's still important to think about these building stocks because people don't occupy these older buildings. So we have to think about how are we going to get it up to speed. And then markets like New York, Chicago, Berlin face particularly, there's an urgency due to large inventory, aging stock, and of course, lower baseline of energy efficiencies. And as you rightly said, retrofitting isn't easy, whether we do it for ourselves or whether we're doing it for assets. So I think the collaboration is key to success. Moving on to the next slide. But here's an opportunity. Sustainability isn't just about risk mitigation. It's about the frontier of value creation. It's about redefining what businesses can do to capture the competitive advantage that comes with it. We need to tailor strategies to reflect local conditions, asset types, and occupier demands. And let's face it, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. We have to be able to customize. We have to be able to look at different local market conditions and look at global targets to see how we're going to make this happen. So we need to see how buildings shift from passive energy users to active energy players, generating energy, storing energy, and supporting the grid. So this unlocks a new business model through the energy as service. So for example, EV charging stations. How can we have smart analytics that create additional revenue streams while strengthening that tenant-landlord relationships? So the question isn't whether to act, but how quickly we can scale the implementation. Thank you.
Alida, thank you so much for that. Super interesting slides, by the way. Will we be allowed to have copies of those slides for people for afterwards, or because that would be amazing. Some of the statistics in there about the aging stock in Europe and North America, and the slowness of the retrofit, and in the end there about the opportunity, which is super exciting. So thank you for that. It's clear that money is going to be, a key part of this this jigsaw. So it's probably pretty useful if we can move on to our next speaker, who will be Christina Haverkamp, who's the managing director of the German energy agency, DINA. And you are, I think, going to talk us a little bit about the financing of this puzzle, because there is this piece that everyone talks about, that the incentives are misaligned and things like that. So we'd be very interested to hear from you, Christina. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think it has become very clear that we urgently need to act on retrofitting buildings. I found your numbers quite scary, actually. We, as the German Energy Agency, have said we need to have a refurbishment rate of of 2.9%. Right now it's 0.9 up to 1.1. So I wonder how we shall scale up to the numbers you consider necessary. Certainly the challenges are also technological, but mostly indeed they are financial, which is